everybody. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. So bear with me as I learn how to go through this setup here with StreamYard. And my special guest today is Mr. Bruce Nunnally, which is one of my favorite peoples. So if you want to chat with us here in StreamYard, then you will need to allow permission in Facebook to do your chatting here. Otherwise, I can see you if you. I can see your chat conversation if you chat with us from YouTube, and the YouTube channel is Soundbite SBP, S like in Sam, B like in boat, P like in person, TV.com. Otherwise, if you're in the group, howdy, howdy, welcome, welcome, welcome. And let me bring on Mr. Bruce. Dum, dum, dum. Say hi, sir.
Hi there. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. Um,
And Go Go
for,
Guitarzan from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
there you go. Let's go. Lean with it, rock with it, lean with it, rock with it. So if you're watching us, say hi, say hey, say hey. So we're going to talk about how to use. So since everybody's online broadcasting, right? And there's so many different methods to use to do broadcasting. And I'm one of those people that have been broadcasting for I don't know, almost maybe 10 years or so, but through Second Life. And Second Life is a totally different uh, platform to broadcast from. But I've also played in shows like the stage.tv when it was still here, and then a show called, an online show called younow.com is one of the other ones. And then there's Street Jelly, that's another broadcast platform that I've worked with, but I haven't used anything like OBS. OBS, and I know there's a term for it, open broadcast something something.
System. Yeah.
That's right, open broadcast system, and it's free to use. But I am as Mr. Zach Morgan said today, it's a clunky process to get there to use it. So I'm learning, and
And
here
we're
is
going to
Mr.
learn why that's not true, right?
And Bruce is gonna go through some steps because he went, oh, blah, 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 in like 2 weeks, went ding, and amazing. Bruce and I know each other because we have worked over 3 or 4 years now. Known each other through various things. One is guitar lessons. I teach guitar lessons, and Bruce has put out his brand new album. If you want to talk about that, Bruce, I'm gonna let the floor be for you now, sir.
And I think before that, my Caddy Info Cadillac website sponsored part of one of your tours,
It did when we went to
which was
California.
one of the ways
Yes.
that we first started working together was helping you get on tour. So yay! The
Do you want me to
the
switch
new
it up?
album is No Spoil Date, and so that's my first album that I've published, and a lot of it was having a really good time with a collection of songs. We were doing a lot of guitar jams, and I had an urge to write some songs, and so it's a collection of all original songs, and it's out available on all the music services. No Spoil Date by Bruce Nunnally. So songs of love, loss, and hope.
And y'all, I'm learning how to use these controls. So if I want just Bruce, how do I
But, but don't
just Bruce?
apologize, and then no one will
No,
know
wait,
that it's not
just
doing
Bruce.
exactly what you wanted to do.
Oh,
You
it's
had
good.
to do it for a moment. I saw it go by.
I'm one of those people. I will learn, uh,
Yes,
especially
this
if
is
it's
how we
behind the
learn.
scenes.
That's one of my favorite phrases. This is how we learn. Is
This
you
is how
learn
we
by
learn.
doing. And that's one of the things that they talk about with a lot of things is if you really want to learn how to do it, get started,
Right.
start doing
So
it, and then you'll learn more as you go.
Guitar Hero says, "Hey,
Yay!
hey, Guitar Hero, how you doing?" Wait, watch this. Boom. Hey, Guitar Hero. Thanks for being.
I like that.
I love that. I think that's so cool.
So you can teach the people.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to the screen where we go to
I don't
OBS.
see a way for me to comment back in the live comments, but we do see your comments here on the screen.
Yeah. I
We'll
wonder if you can do that, and you can't. Well, technically, you can you not chat in the chat box,
I
Bruce?
can chat to you, but I don't see a way for me to chat in the chat box.
Oh, that's something we should ask
And you
Streamyard
may
about.
you may know how to do that, but
No,
and
I didn't know you couldn't.
maybe well, I mean, if do you have a dialogue there that lets you chat in the chat box?
Yes, but
Yeah.
it only goes to YouTube right now,
Okay,
and
let's
probably
see.
goes to Facebook, but
Yeah. Well,
Facebook.
it's amazing that Yeah, I have. Oh, I can chat with the host and other guests. Yeah, but I can't chat to live comments wherever they're going. I guess I didn't try clicking on. No, nothing there. Okay, so we were going to talk about OBS, and I do want to share. I'm a relative beginner at OBS as well, but I think that can bring some joy here because it may help me explain it in such a way that that everyone can follow along. And so if you're wanting to do OBS some more, yeah, there you go. You can chat back. If you're wanting to do OBS some more, then that's what we're going to be talking about, is how to even get started with OBS and how to think about the screens and how to quickly use it to do stuff that you want to do. So this is likely what OBS looks like when you get it and install it. It's free software. It's available out in the world. It's actually called OBS Studio. They have it for Windows and Linux and Mac, I believe. But this is what the opening screen will look like. And so our number one hint from this screen is press the studio mode button.
I'm going to download this while you're doing that on my Mac.
Oh, no. The Mac that we're running the show off of?
No. Oh gosh, no. The PC is running this show. Yeah,
we'll be starting the show again after the download.
I'll be on loop going. Start over.
No.
No.
What I did in OBS is I went over to the lower right and pressed the studio mode button, which is in the middle of those buttons to the right. I know it's hard to see on this screen, but in the main controls there where it says start streaming, start recording, and then it says studio mode. And so now you see these two big windows at the top, Sonya?
Where's your mouse?
I can see my mouse. I don't think you can see my mouse. Let me.
There it is. I can see.
Okay, you see these two windows. So what I did is I pressed the studio mode button down here.
Yeah, there you go.
So before it was one screen, that was just showing me what's going out through my OBS display. So if I was going to stream right now, they'd just get a blank screen, which wouldn't be very exciting. But when I press the studio mode, now I get two screens, right? 1, 2. Now the one on the right here is what's going out through OBS. The one on the left here is backstage. And then if I ever want to transition from backstage to OBS, I hit this transition button and that flips what's on the left screen over to the right screen. Does that make sense so far?
It does make sense. Are you able to zoom in on that area that you're working on, or are you able to rearrange the view of it?
That area that we're looking at represents the full screen. So that's a full 1920 by 1080 display.
Okay.
And so what you're going to want to do is work with full screens. Now, down to the left here is our scenes. This is our scene list, the lower left scene list. Now, the way to think about this is, let's say each scene is going to be a different screen that I might want to show. So I might want to have one scene that is my standby screen. So if I was going to get ready to stream and before I go to stream, I want to show a standby screen, then I might show one scene that's just a standby screen. I might have one scene that is set up for when I'm doing guitar. I might have another scene that's set up for if I have a different arrangement of, like if I'm sharing more video in the thing, I might have a scene set up just for that. But the way to think about it is each scene, and this is probably not the way a sophisticated OBS person would explain it, but each scene is as if it were, if I want to have a different screen display, each scene would be a different screen. So I'm going to start with a beginning screen. Well, let's start with a empty video screen.
My new word this last month was layman. Speak in layman terms. Yes, good job.
Yes. So in the lower left, what I did is I pressed this plus button, and it uses kind of this approach all the way through, that when you press a plus button, that creates a new whatever it is. So when I was down in the scenes and I pressed this plus button, that made a new scene. So I created a new scene called empty video screen. So as right now, my video screen is not exciting because it's got nothing, right? So now I'm going to come over. Each scene needs a variety of sources. And the way to think about sources is that could be video, that could be image files, that could be anything that you want to put on your screen is going to be here in sources. So this empty video screen, as long as I have the cursor on it, then whatever sources I add are going to get added to that screen. So I want to add a source. So I'm going to push plus source, and I'm going to add a video capture device. Now I can name the video capture device anything I want to. I'm going to name it in this case, I'm going to name it my webcam. I'm going to name it my Logitech webcam. So now it's going to ask me, well, what driver should I use for the Logitech webcam? So I'm going to tell it, let's use the Logitech webcam driver because I want this to be the Logitech webcam, and it's showing me the preview. Now I can leave it at device default, or I could set the resolution and do some other things depending on what device it is. It will let you choose, hey, what do you want to do with it? So I'm going to tell it make the resolution HD, and then I could also set what I would want to do with, if I was using sound from the camera, which I'm not, then I could choose what I want to do with the camera. So now over here on my preview, my window to the left, which is my preview window, I've got a video taking up the whole screen.
Right.
On my right, which is OBS coming out to the camera, still blank, right? Now my video on your screen is frozen because StreamYard was using my desktop camera as a source. And when I asked OBS which source, then OBS was also using the desktop camera. I tried to use the desktop camera, and so it froze the camera in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into OBS. This may not work, but I'm going to go into OBS and tell it start. Oh, it is running the. So let me see if I can get StreamYard to add. Let me use OBS as my output camera now, and then we'll talk about how does that work.
You're probably going to have to do what I have, which is 2 cameras.
Okay, so right now we're looking at the OBS output,
Yes.
which is a blank screen. We don't want that, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to hit this transition button in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And so now you actually see me in the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my window up here on our screen, like right below you,
It's still working, yeah.
is still working, but now it's actually my OBS output because I told OBS use my OBS output. So in other words, in OBS, I'm going to click on empty video screen to get it back in my prep window. So now let's go add something else. I'm going to add.
Wait. That's a game changer. Hold on. So you went to what setting on the OBS to tell?
I wanted in my prep window on the left, I wanted it to be my empty video screen again, right? Because as soon as I transition the empty video screen to live, OBS will tend to flip to another scene because it thinks you're getting ready to go to another scene. So It may have gone to blank scene like that.
But in OBS, you're choosing what? Because I finally got it downloaded.
Here on the scenes, I'm choosing what scene do I want to show in the prep room, because the screen on the left is the prep room. So OBS switched to a blank scene, but that wasn't useful to me because the blank scene isn't ready to show to do anything with, right? And so I'm going to click on. I want to get in the prep room. I want to get my empty screen that I created for this show.
Yes.
The empty video screen. Now I'm going to add something else to the empty video screens because now that I have it highlighted, anything I do in the sources window, so I'm going to add another source, and I'm going to add a text, and I'm going to call the text OBS example. You could call it anything you want. I'm going to call it OBS example. So you see, here's our example text is going over there onto the screen.
Nice.
And I'm going to move it around, but it's still not my OBS display, is it? See, in my picture below you, it doesn't say that. It's in the prep room. It's backstage. So as long as it's backstage, it's not in my picture. But as soon as I hit transition, Now it's on. Now it's in my stream. So that lets you get stuff ready. And especially if you already have scenes pre-prepared, because I might have one scene, like you're busy playing your music and you want to show your album cover. I might have a scene where I can just add my album cover, or I add an image, or I do other stuff. Or, I like to add my Guitar Pro software while I'm playing on YouTube. And so I'll be set up with my guitar and be playing, but I'll have a PDF of the sheet music, or I'll have Guitar Pro playing along on the screen. And so
Make sure you show that later.
This lets you, behind the scenes, you can work in this left window over here, and that's your ready room, so to speak. Now, one of the things that was a little tricky with text, oh no, it's just white text, but how do I change it? Every time you have something, you can choose properties, and that brings this up, and I can change the color of the text right here. And you may find that you have to scroll that down a little bit, because like if your window is too small, sometimes the window will open up like that. And it's like, well, I can choose font and maybe the color displays in the font, but it's not. And what it is the window's got more information on it and you need to scroll down. So now I can just select colors and pick a different color. And then that'll change the text. And the same thing, you can change the background on the text the same way. And so if you're not sure, scroll down, because you might be able to find what, other features. Now the background was all transparent, so I'm going to make it opaque. And so that makes it easy for you to add text and data in. If you ever need to crop a window instead of stretching a window, you see how I'm just grabbing the window handles and changing the size of the text to whatever I want. And I click on the middle of it, make sure I have its attention, then I can move the text wherever I want. But you see right now how my output that's actually going in the stream over on the right still has the text down here in front of my chest?
Yes.
And in the ready room, it's up here. So again, I would hit transition in order to move it to the outgoing stream. So it's always what's in the ready room is over on the left. What's going out in the stream is over on the right. Left, right.
Bruce, you're going to have to go back, bro. Sorry. I just
Sure.
finally got the thing downloaded and I don't see that. Maybe it's just because of me, or maybe
You have it running? What do you see?
I have. Oh,
Do you want to share your screen instead?
No, because it's on the Mac.
It's on the other computer.
So I can't get it over there.
Yes.
It'll shut this off.
Did you do step one where we put it in studio mode?
Because I have tried to do OBS before, it has my old setting. So I have to tell it to reset. And I don't know where that is on OBS stream, output, audio, video, hotkeys, advanced, blah.
Well, what do you see right now? Do you see one window in the middle like we did?
I see two windows.
Two windows, that's good. So the one on the left is your preview and the one on your right is your output stream.
Yes.
Okay. So down in the lower left under scenes, what do you see there?
That is a part of the problem. I don't see the word scenes. Oh, yes, I do. Except mine's long. Yours is 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So
Yes.
my setup is different for some reason.
Oh,
I need to figure out why it's like
adjusted.
that. All right. So scenes. All right. I see that. Yes.
Okay. So under scenes, we're going to add a scene.
That's the plus sign. Okay.
Yep.
Scene. All right.
You name it anything you want to, scene 1, scene 2, or, whatever. I like to have one that's just video only, so that, video with no add-ins, so that I can always just go to a blank video window.
All right. You know what? It needs to let me do the setting like yours. How do I want to see it set up like
yours? What might work good for our talk tonight, because I can share my display, is let's work on
yours,
starting from scratch on mine.
Okay.
And then we'll get your set up when we're,
because it's ugly.
and everybody's not looking over our shoulder. Because I'm sure that's just a matter of moving these windows around. Like, I'm not going to press these window buttons, but I think I could just move the windows And so that's what's happened is you've moved these windows around, or they're not in the same default on the Mac as on,
Something. Yeah.
because I am using a high definition display and so
But
on.
that's why you're here to.
Well, but regardless of where the windows were or what shape they are, they work the same way. So you add a scene, then while you have that scene highlighted, you can add different features to that scene. So in this case, let's say, so I've got this going on. So this might be my, so the next scene a musician might need is I'm going to add a new scene, and I'm going to call this scene my standby window. Now my standby window, now my prep window's gone blank, right? Because this scene doesn't have anything in it. If I click back to the empty video screen, it's showing me that scene, but my standby window doesn't have any sources, doesn't have any elements. So I'm going to add a source. And in this case, I want to have an image. And if you've already added a bunch of images and scenes and stuff, it'll give you, it'll show you images, but I'm going to call this my standby image. Now you can browse and use any image on your computer. I'm going to look in my guitar stuff and see if I can find an image that I like. Unfortunately, I didn't memorize I didn't make sure I had a image ready to do this specific thing. But here's, I thought I might have an image named Bruce's standby screen is what I was hoping.
Where's your CD cover?
Yeah, that would be even harder to find. I don't want to have to make you wait through.
No. We're here to learn. We're here to learn.
Okay, here's a no spoil date.
There you go.
Okay, so now this is way too big, right? So I'm going to shrink it down just like you would, just like you would anything, any other image. And so just by grabbing the handles and manipulating the image. Now you see these gray lines down here? That's showing me that part of the image is off the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so the black box is where the screen would be. And then, so in this case, I'm going to add another source, and I'm going to tell it I want to add text. And I'm going to call the text my standby text. Okay. And then it's going to ask me, please stand by. Now, I'd like to have another line of text, so I just hit return and keep typing. Please stand by. We'll be starting soon.
Well, Bruce, do you think that'll also run a video?
Yes, you could run any media source. And what you do is, as an element, you just tell it what media source you want to run. So you could run a video continuously if you wanted to.
Nice.
So I'm going to tell it use a yellow background. And okay, and then I'm going to make the background opaque. I can't forget that part. I'm going to change my text color to a red because everybody likes red letters on a yellow background. Please stand by. We'll be starting soon. Now you see how the letters look a little bit pixelated? So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to tell it use scale filtering for the letters. So I'm going to use by cubic scale filtering. And so what I could do before the show starts is just flip that up. And then that way, if you logged into my stream early, now we've got a standby. What I do is I have a picture of me holding the guitar and standby. You can also add a timer to this, which is useful, like a countdown timer. Yeah. And what you do is just go run a countdown timer on your desktop, like the clock timer or any timer you want to, and then do a screen capture from that and have it be live in the thing, which we'll talk about. So,
you guys that are watching, do you have some questions? If you have questions, send a chat comment, make a comment in the YouTube or the direct message me in the group and I will see if we can answer some of your questions because I am learning. I have no idea how to use
Me too.
OBS. It has frustrated the moo moo out of me because I don't get it. But Bruce is making it look like ta-da. Like no. He's doing a brilliant job of this. Brilliant.
Now, this lower left hand where we have our scenes, the scenes box. So we've got 3 scenes. There was a blank scene that they gave us as a default scene. And when I click on it, the backstage window goes blank. There's the empty video screen, which we started with. And it's not really empty yet, but it has the video on it, right? And basically nothing else. And then there's this standby window. And so when I click on each of those, it goes to a different. So if I wanted to show this video screen again, I'd click on it to get it in the prep window, and then I'd hit transition. Now, you see what happened there? It can be a little confusing because OBS is trying to help me. Is when I went to the empty video screen and I hit transition, it flipped over to the standby window automatically in the prep room because it figured I may be toggling back and forth between the video screen and the standby screen. So it made it easy for me to do that. But that may be confusing because I didn't tell it to do that right. I put the empty video screen in the prep room, and then I told it to transition to the camera, and suddenly the prep room changed to the standby screen. And I didn't tell it to do that, but OBS is trying to help me because that way, if you're running a show and you're flipping in between different scenes during the show, then you're ready to transition quickly. And you can do sportier, nicer transitions where these gadgets in the middle of the screen, what they do is you can choose, do you want to cut? Do you want to fade in? Do you want to fade to black?
Are they automatic? Can you set them to be automatic switches?
Well, you can choose how long you want them to take and what type of transition you want. Now you can associate them with hotkeys, so that so now I'm going to do something a little magic, and maybe we're at a good time here.
Bring it close.
Because if you've done, this is a collection of scenes, right? So I have this scene, and I have an empty video screen, and I have a standby window. So this is a very small collection of scenes, but that's a collection of scenes, right? So one of the things that OBS makes it easy for you to do is to deal with scene collections. So right now we're looking at blank scenes because we started from blank. But if I wanted to rename this blank scenes, now I'm gonna have this be the Sonya show scenes.
SBP TV.
Yes, SBP TV scene collection renamed. So I got it wrong, so I'm going to rewrite in SBP TV show scenes. Soundbite Production TV. Okay, so I've got those scenes. Now I found OBS is a little bit fragile, but because especially if you're moving in and out of a bunch of scenes at the same time. But in my scene collection, now I could flip back to my kind of default, and we'll see if it populates. So these are all the different scenes that I use with computer stuff that I'm doing right now. And so what you see is the video screen. Right now we're looking at.
So in your source or in your scene, you've added 2 sources. Is that correct?
In this case, okay. I have just the album cover, but in this scene actually has a bunch of different sources. And so Cafe Bohemia, but see how the eye is dimmed? So you can't see.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Now
you can't see that. And none of the Cafe Bohemia, even though I've highlighted in the backstage, it's still not in my stream, right?
Right.
I have to highlight it backstage and then transition it to the stream.
That's cool.
In order for it to show up in the stream. Now this is just an image, and you can tell by the icons what each of the things are. But like Excel, if I wanted to show an Excel sheet, my headshot logo, which may be useful to artists. And so that's if you wanted to have a headshot on screen, right? Or like, here's my standby screen. So it has my album cover on it. It's got this message, stand by, and it's got a picture of me in the background. So if you look down here at the different sources within that screen, so it's got audio capture. So if I wanted to continually play my music or so that people could, if I was sitting and playing, but I wasn't ready to go on video yet, this media source background music is what you ask about. But the media source, and again, it flipped away from my standby screen. So I'm going to look at my standby screen in the prep room. So this media background music, let's look at the properties for it. So I've picked one of my songs, Daydreams of the Swallow. And then that song will end up playing if I were streaming this this standby. So that song will just play over and over again in the stream.
Nice.
And the same thing, you could add a little video window, and then the video window would, and you see in this case, because I've added everything to prep room, so I'm going to tell it, go back to my high definition display with no add-ins, transition that back. And I'm going to click on HD no display again to put it in my prep room. So if I wanted to have my album cover up, now you have to kind of be careful, because you see these different outlines. Those are different objects that are there, but they're marked to be invisible. And so whenever you're going to move something around, you got to make sure you end up with it grabbing the item that you mean. So I kept clicking on the album until it grabbed the album and not something else. See right there, I've got something else, not my headshot. So I'm going to move the headshot up here. Another thing this is kind of an inside baseball thing, but one of the things I like to do that way is I can put, have a really nice picture for a headshot taken with the camera and autofocus and lighting good and everything, right? And use it to tune your video.
Yeah.
In other words, I can put it up there next to my video, and then I can go work on modification of the filters on my video until it looks like the headshot. So I can get my skin tone right and get my saturation and so on, because I know the camera is smarter than I am about how everything should look. So I let the camera do everything automatic, take a headshot, and then use that to tune. And the way you would do that is, remember, everything has properties. So if I right click on my video and I choose properties, that took me back to setting up my video. But if I right click on the video and I choose filters, look, I've added in different filters. Let me make sure. So I've added in different filters for the video. So one of the filters is color correction. So in color correction, the video is being color corrected live right now. None of the settings are set for this, right? But let's say when I did this, I said, well, my skin tone's a little peachier than that. And so if I set the color correction to 0.1, then what it's done is added more saturation into my live video. So in the live video stream, it's color correcting the video coming from the camera through OBS before it sends it out to StreamYard. Now, another thing that I like to do is, if we look at, say, this Cafe Bohemia, so that's an image file, right? So let's right click on it and choose filters. There's color correction and sharpen, but both those, the eyeball is scratched through because they're turned off. So if I clicked on the eyeball, that would turn them on, but it doesn't need color correction. It doesn't really need sharpening. But if I add a chroma key filter, I can actually, right now this is opaque, so you can't see me behind it, right? It's just in front of me. But I could actually change the opacity. I could change how transparent it is. So now you can start to see my t-shirt through the Cafe Bohemia label, right? So I used that for, and that was, what I did was in the filters for that image, I added a chroma key filter, and then I changed the opacity. I changed how opaque it is. So if I turn that all the way down to 67, I find about 90% is good. But if I turn that all the way down to 65, then it's become very, very transparent, right? So now you can see my hands. And so if I wanted to have that info on the screen, I want to advertise for my friends at Cafe Bohemia, because Evie's such a friend to guitar players and musicians and has open mics and has guitar jams and does all kinds of things. But I don't want it to get in the way of my guitar, because if my guitar was back here and you wanted to see my hands moving,
Right.
then I want it to be semi-transparent. So anything that you put on the screen, you can add that chroma key filter and make it transparent to whatever degree you choose, so that as you're stacking imagery, see, now you can see my arm moving behind the image and doing other stuff, so that as you're stacking imagery, and the thing is, the order here is whatever's closer to the top is closer to the top of the image stack. So as you're looking at your sources,
Right.
what's on top is closer to the top of the image stack than the things above it, than the things below it. So the big thing is scenes. Scenes are each different screen you want to have, then make it a different scene. Each screen is a scene, is the way I think about it. There's probably even more meanings that scenes have, is why they're referred to as scenes. But every time I want to have a different display to show, so like I have one that's just to show sheet music, my head and sheet music. I have one that's just to show Guitar Pro. I have one that's just the video. I have one that's just the standby screen. And so you see all these different scenes that I have. Now, in the hotkeys, like this one's just showing sheet music, right? So I have one of my songs, God Bless the Responders. And so while I'm playing the song, you can see the sheet music on the screen. And so that way my listeners can follow along and see the complete notation, or can sing along, or can play along. And my pedal is tuned into the sheet music. So as I push the pedal, the pages change in the sheet music and it changes on the screen. So that you can, so as I need to play the song and I go to page 2, then I hit my pedal. Now the pedal is a normal page turner pedal that's hooked up through my laptop. So that's a whole separate topic. That's another show idea, another night.
Yeah, I was going to say we should do a topic on your foot pedal. That would be brilliant, because that thing is amazing.
And so and you need a page turner. If you thought you didn't, you do. I saw some really professional artists doing something, and it was clear they were having to stop and move their screen and then play, and then stop and move their screen. And so a page turner is intensely interesting. But the cool part here to me is, while it's showing the PDF file on the screen, it's responding to that hotkey. And the way I did that is I went into hotkey, to settings, and I chose hotkeys. And then every gadget you've added ends up a new set of settings here. And so then I could go into that individual gadget, the PDF. Right now we're looking at the HD no video screen. So each of these is a different scene within the hotkey settings. So when I scroll down to the HD no video screen, HD no add-ins, here's HD no add-ins. Now see this F9, what key do I want to press to switch to that scene? So I chose F9, and I've done a little mnemonic here where in my scene window, I've named my scenes based on the hotkeys that you press to get to that scene, in order to make it easy for me to remember. Mm-hmm. And so I named my scenes. So if I press F4, then that scene comes up in the prep window. Now it's still not on the screen, right? It's still not in the stream, but it's in the prep window. So that's my Guitar Pro only, or my Guitar Pro karaoke with no video, so as I have my different F keys set up, here's where did my brown go? So I have this, if I wanted to do 2 different songs and I didn't want to manipulate the sheet music, this way it's set up to where that sheet music's already on screen, depending on which song I'm looking at. But it still hasn't transitioned. And so what I did is I set F12 to be my transition key. And so now if I press, for example, F3, it's going to pull up where did my brown go in the prep room. When I'm pressing F12, it's putting that into the stream. So that way I can quickly use hotkeys to quickly toggle to pull up what I want in the prep room and to send it to the stream.
I like it.
And so
Smart system.
the paradigm is whatever screens that you want to have, those become scenes. And then you rename that collection of scenes so that you can quickly come back to it. Because everything gets saved as you go. I never have to stop and say, file, save this setup. It's saving this setup as your default. But you have to be smart about that too. If you get a setup where you'll really like, export that as a screen collection. Because that way, if you mess it up and you want to come back to it, it's like saving your spot in a game, right?
Right.
That way you could reload that spot if you needed to. So let's talk about this is now the way, in order to show these PDF files, I went out and got a new add-in called GhostScript Reader. And so I added that to OBS. OBS doesn't natively have the capability to show a PDF file. So I went and got a free add-in out of the OBS community forum. If you go to the OBS website and then go to resources, I got this GhostScript Reader because we use a lot of PDF files when I'm doing guitar jams and things. And so I got the GhostScript Reader and used it to load a PDF file. OBS has a number of, as we saw, a number of different default sources that you could add into any of your screens, but it didn't have a PDF reader. So I added that. Again, that was free. Another thing, so this is just where I've put this Texas USA down in the corner here. So the idea here was I wanted to have you might be doing something where you want people to know where you're from, like artists do.
Right.
And so that's another example of, and you see that's a fancy font in red with a white outline. And that was just a matter of choosing different fonts and different choices within the font display. So the big things I would say, remember when you right click on anything and go to properties or filters, right click on anything and it gives you a ton of choices. Now, another thing I could do here is in the prep room, if I wanted to have, like when I'm playing, when we looked at the sheet music, I'm not in the middle of the screen anymore on my display, right? I've taken my video and moved me back and forth. So in the prep room, in this case, I've moved my video over to the right because the sheet music is taking up the left part of the screen. And so instead of reshaping my video, I just centered me in the part of the screen that's not being taken up by the sheet music. So in my stream, you can see the sheet music taking up half the screen and me and centered in the other half of the screen. And so that was really easy to do, that when I pulled it up in my prep room, I just grabbed the video, and instead of it being, filling up the complete room, I just slid it over to the right and then centered me in the video. So there's tons of stuff, and you'll be able to play with it and do all kinds of things once you get started. And what I found is the learning curve is really easy once you understood, what does scenes mean and what am I doing with scenes? And so the big thing is add a new scene, name it something cool like your name so that you created that one. And then start adding elements to that scene, like your video camera, video capture device, or like text, or your headshot, or so on, and then create another scene and then add different elements to that. And so each screen that you want to use while you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And then you can do the other things like adding hotkeys to each one of your scenes to make it really easy to transition from one scene to another.
Okay, so let's go back to the top and recap, because there's a stream portion of this that you got to do when you actually want to go stream into the YouTube or the Twitch or the Facebook, because we're using Streamlab, which streams into all of those things, and Bruce is streaming from his OBS into StreamYard, which
into your
I'm
home.
streaming into YouTube and Facebook. So
And the
you're
amazing thing is it works at all.
it does work, but you're not using a stream key right now. You're just doing the setup from into the OBS. So I want to OBS is far easier. Yes, it is. That's what we're here learning about. Uh, I wish I wait. Let me put some of these up here, Bruce. This one
You
says
could use your OBS to make school videos,
absolutely.
because what I'm doing is, what I use OBS for is I'll composite the scene I want and I'll record it directly from OBS, because you can just start recording and it'll save it off on my hard drive. And then I can go in and edit that video if I need to, and then upload that to YouTube or upload that to Facebook, or save it a different way and upload it to TikTok or whatever else you're going to do with it. So OBS. So you raised a very interesting question there, Sonya, because there's another critical add-in that doesn't come with OBS.
And let me address the person that made this comment. Put your name after it, because right now it just shows you as a Facebook user. You have to tell Facebook you want your comments to be seen. So let me get off of this one. And this one says, OBS is far easier. OBS has some easier tools. Absolutely. I agree with that completely. Person.
Well, you got to be
However,
careful, because there's a variety of choices, and some of them may be more intuitive to you than OBS is. And so that's what Sonya found with Streamlab, is that StreamYard is a lot of things that StreamYard does are exactly the way Sonya expected it to work.
yes.
And so whichever one is intuitive for you, meaning really, really works the way you would have designed it to work. But there's another crucial add-in that I'm using here. If I was just all the things we've talked about so far is everything I would need to stream it to YouTube or to record using OBS and save it off to my hard drive, all that would be fine. But I'm doing another hat trick here, which is I'm feeding it into you as if it were my camera output, right? So like over here in my camera, you're actually getting my OBS output as if it were my camera output.
There's some questions, Bruce. Hold on.
Okay.
This person says, "Oh, hey, Doug. Doug is saying, yeah, but I use my Sony camera and use school parameters. Not sure what that means, but I know Bruce for a fact.
Well, he's required to use Final Cut, he says.
Okay.
But Final Cut is the video composition software that you're using to manipulate your video after. You could still use Final Cut, but it's just your raw video would already have things composited into it. And maybe they want to see your Final Cut project file. You know, they want to, if you're taking a class in Final Cut, they'd obviously want you to use Final Cut to do all your compositing.
Right.
Yeah. But if I'm editing video, I'll capture the video exactly the way I want it out of OBS. And then I use another video editing program in order to do other changes to it before I upload it sometimes. It's depending on what I'm doing with the video. Other questions?
Doug says, yes, I'm using Final Cut.
Yeah, required to use Final Cut.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and absolutely do what's going to get you points in the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mostly this whole topic discussion is about how to get to use OBS. So there's many. Doug is saying a lot. There's my personal. I just wanted to be able to learn how to use OBS because I see other artists using it, and I'm like, that's cool. I don't know how to do that. That's very neat. I don't know how to do that. So that's why I'm having this.
And we see this as a frequent topic on YouTube. And a lot of times musicians, have this fabulous knowledge of different scales and different modes and, an encyclopedic knowledge of all the songs. Like Sonya knows how to play hundreds of songs from memory. But when it comes to software, they don't always have the patience to get past this first stumbling block. And so that's what we're trying to cover, is just to get you started with OBS. And then once you get started with OBS, usually you're in good stead, or you can go from that to YouTube videos that address specific things that you want to know how to do.
go back to
But
that point you were trying to make. Stream key, the stream key.
well, the really key thing that I want to mention is I'm using another add-in called Virtual Cam. It's Virtual Cam for OBS, and the same thing. You go to the OBS forum and then go to resources and get Virtual Cam. And what that does is it's really cool, but it's running right now. And what it does is it takes whatever you're showing in OBS and acts as if that's an input from a camera. So instead of showing you I'm using a Canon mirrorless camera that's coming into a CamLink gadget to come into the computer, but I'm not displaying that as a source for our conversation tonight. I'm displaying my OBS camera as a source. And that OBS camera is just a piece of software that runs within OBS that tricks the computer into thinking that the output of OBS is the input to a camera, that it's a camera instead of an OBS output.
And what is it called again?
It's called Virtual Camera, but it's an OBS add-in called Virtual Cam, and you see it here on the screen. And so I'm running that in OBS all the time. And so that starts whenever I start OBS because I have this auto start selection selected. And so, but what that means is when I go into StreamYard and tell it OBS Cam, see how my picture below your picture isn't just showing my camera output, it's actually showing the output of my OBS, right?
Right.
And so, and the same thing, if I went to Zoom, I could use the output of my OBS in Zoom or in Skype or in YouTube Live or in anything else, anywhere I'm sending my camera, anywhere that can take a camera input, then I can send my composited OBS output instead of. So when I'm doing guitar jams and we're in Zoom, I'm using my OBS output as the input to Zoom for the guitar jam. And so what that lets me do is then I can put other text on the screen, or I can put sheet music on the screen, or I can show, and I'm a bohemian when we're doing Cafe Bohemia. So I'll have my Cafe Bohemia screen up, and that way while we're doing the jam, then that becomes. I would not have my headshot up, but so I'm going to turn my headshot off. But so instead of just having my video, then I'll have my Cafe Bohemia logo up at the same time as part of my stream, just to encourage.
There's a question here from Joe Bear. Where are you going? There you go. Asking about the audio is good, but the video is skippy from when it comes to Facebook. Bear, is that what you're talking about? When it's in Facebook, it's skippy, or are you talking about this show right now, or are you talking about when you broadcast? Which? And nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in, Joe Bear. Joe Bear wants to know, is there any way to fix? I don't know if that's on which end of it are you trying to fix? Are you trying to fix the Facebook, the OBS, or the live stream?
Facebook, it's skippy.
Facebook.
So
you can see that too. That's good.
When you broadcast via OBS and Facebook, it's skippy. So number one would be let's talk about broadcasting first. Number one would be don't use Wi-Fi to broadcast.
Absolutely
plug into Ethernet. And the way you do that is put your laptop near your router. Ethernet cables can actually be pretty long. So if you can run a cable from where your router is to where your laptop is, but plug that puppy in. Don't try and do streaming over Wi-Fi. That's number one. Another thing is within OBS. Oh, good job. Joe says he is wired, so good choice. Within OBS in the lower right-hand corner, it'll show you your current CPU usage. So whenever you're streaming, go do a test stream. Whenever you're streaming, OBS will show you down here in the lower right-hand corner, it shows you how much CPU it's using and how many frames per second it thinks it's sending out. And so go check that while you're streaming, because that will answer the question, is OBS overloading your processor the way with what you're doing right now? I suspect it's not, but that'll eliminate that as a below 20%. Mine stays below 5%, but so if you're not using much processor, then going out from OBS is good. What's your upload internet connection? Like way high? Like you have a fiber connection at home? One of the things you have to watch with, sometimes your internet connection for your ISP is set up to where the download speed is way high, but the upload speed is low. And so like I'm using a 150 connection. They can't send a tech out to the house right now because there's some kind of virus thing. I hadn't heard what that was about, but there's some kind of virus problem going on. But I called them and said, you got to watch the providers all the time, right? Because my internet setting is 150 up, 150 down, but they actually, for the same price, they would offer me a gigabyte up and a gigabyte down now. And so you got to call them every year to see. They'll keep charging you the same amount for the lower rate than they offer if you don't watch them. So make sure you're 30 down, 5.5. Yeah, that 5.5 up is
probably what's slowing
not
you down.
ideal. Yeah. Even on our Wi-Fi here, I think we get 90 down and 90 up, 90 megabits per second over the Wi-Fi. I haven't run a speed test on my home setup, but so one thing would be check and see if you're getting all the service you pay for, as I say. But like I know what we paid was a premium, the last time I fussed at them, but they're currently offering 8 times better service for the same price, but they won't give it to me unless I call them. And so you have to, I never understand that business model, why they think no customer service is the right approach. But okay.
So we're almost running out of time here. I think Bruce should come back and do this again. You guys let us know so that, but as he teaches me, hopefully you guys are learning. They call that plan 50 megabyte plan. I don't think that's good.
Yeah, you're not getting 50 up, 50 down.
Yeah.
You're getting 30 down and 5 up. And so I would ask them that question. The other thing I would look at, and to make sure, I would try and check the speed from your laptop to the router just to eliminate that lag. In other words, every time I'm doing diagnostics, I start trying to eliminate each piece along the way, because it could be you need a higher quality Cat5 cable, but it could be that you've already looked at all that stuff, but that's what I would start to do, is look at each step along the way. And if you stream directly live to Facebook Live, for example, do you see the same problem, or do you only see it in OBS? Because if I saw it directly in Facebook Live and as well as OBS, then it's not an OBS problem; it's a connection problem.
Good points. Sorry, good points. All good points. I would definitely, Joe, thank you so much for all your questions, but I would definitely see how your speed is going for the connection for the Wi-Fi, and then test it with your phone. Are you getting skippy with skippy videos when you use your phone? Use your phone?
Yeah, that's a good idea, is have your friend bring their MacBook over or laptop over, if you're using a laptop, and stream from the same place.
See if that's a thing.
Stream output, streaming bit rate. Yeah, you have it set to 2500. I think the standard for HD, if you're sitting up, what I would do is go Google standard broadcast rates, and that tells you what they expect you to set your bit rate to. I'm thinking it's like 4000 is what they want it set to. But look at 1080p if you're streaming 1080p or 720p, whatever it is you're streaming, and it will tell you the bit rate. What I did is I Googled bit rate for 1080p, and then it said, well, the standard that most people are expecting is that your audio is set to 192K and your video is set to 4000 or 6 to 8,000 if you're doing HD, and 12,000 if you're doing 4K, and so much if you're doing 720p and so on. And then I changed my setting uh, within OBS to that setting.
All right, you guys, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry we used up all the time.
No, that was perfect. I truly think we should do this again once I actually get the thing running. And then hopefully everyone will come back and have more questions for you.
Oh, don't reduce it to 480 because
No, that's too small.
stay at 720 because we really should be at 1080p, but the services aren't there yet. But stay at 720 and then let's keep diagnosing. If you just can't get the stream to work fluidly, then I would tend to capture record your video direct to your laptop and then push it up to YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're doing. I wouldn't stream it 480p. I would do direct recording and then upload it instead of streaming.
And if you have more questions, you can contact Bruce. Which where? Email, Facebook, YouTube.
YouTube would probably be the best way. Go to YouTube, and I've got a couple of different videos there also, and it's Bruce Nunnally is my YouTube channel, and so it's youtube.com/c/Bruce Nunnally. But if you go to YouTube, I've got a couple of videos that talk about OBS and Guitar Pro to OBS to Zoom and things of that nature. You're welcome to leave comments there. I think you can get a business contact email through YouTube, right? If you go to the About channel, then it'll let you click there and get an email if you want to talk to me directly.
Like and subscribe my channel, Bruce's channel, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay hydrated. This was so much fun. I learned a lot. Now my head hurts. Thank you, Bruce.
I was told you were going to play guitar before we wrapped up.
We were gonna, but there's like my Mac can't handle the OBS and the GarageBand at the same time, so I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'll get my brother, the wizard, to come and help me do that.
Thank you very much for having me on. Good to see you.
What's your channel, Bruce? It's Bruce's channel is
Bruce Nunnally
at YouTube.
It's like my name. Yeah, youtube.com/C for channels /Bruce Nunnally.
Let me switch so you can see his name. There you go.
Yeah. Yep. Or it's in the comments there. Joe Bear was nice enough to write it in the comments.
You're welcome. All right. We'll see y'all next time. Please join the groups. And we said bye-bye.
Bye-bye.